Okay, so we are still in standing poses. We're going to move probably to sitting and laying poses in the next couple of weeks. But I wanted us to have a model who is a little bit more normal sized, right? Well, normal, I shouldn't use the word normal, who is just different than these little skinny twiggy figures. I love this one. It's a really great one. I think you're going to enjoy drawing her. And one of the things I want you to notice is how nice the shading is. So can you tell what direction the light's coming from? What direction is the light coming from? You guys can unmute. It's just the three of you.
I'm not sure actually, because everyone like left, but a bit like on the front left.
Yeah. On the front, like from here in, not so up, more like this, right? Because you can see. So what's really happening? How is the body? And I think this demonstrates really well how the body is like kind of broken up into like cubes almost, even though it looks like a rounded shape. I want to review really quickly before we get into our drawing. I just want you guys to take a look at this. This is a very simplified version of how a body is lit, right? So if you were to like actually dramatically cube the body, right, you can see that if the light's coming from this direction, these areas are lit, these areas are not. You can see where the turning happens. Notice on the legs, it's like half of the leg is light, the half that's nearer to the light, and the half that's away from the light, the bit that's away from the light is darker. You can see that happening on her too, right? So it helps to think about this. And I would actually highly recommend you guys try drawing this on your own time. We're not going to do it, but you have it. Does anybody have questions about how this works? So this is what we like to call planes, right? Planes is how shading works. And planes is basically when the subject that you're looking at shifts into another direction. It's very easy with a cube to see this. Hold on. Do it right here. Right? This is one plane. This is another plane. These are each different planes. And what happens is as the subject switches direction, the light changes. So that's how you know. So, and I think people like to think like I'm just looking at this flat subject, right? Right, it's just, this is all one side, but you can really see if I were to sketch these in, right? That this is a different side of the leg than this side. Here, let's sketch it in a little bit more dramatically so you can see it. Right, that's one side of the leg. This is the light side of the leg. This is the dark side of the leg. Right, dark side. So I want you to really be thinking about that as you're sketching today. We're going to start with 10 1 minutes, of course. And since I'm debating over whether I should, do you want me to review what a 1 minute drawing is? Do you want me to review gestures? Should I do it? Or do you want to just go into it? You guys tell me.
Well,
Is it helpful to watch me do a 1 minute drawing? Let me do it with her and then we'll start on the thing. So once again, in a 1 minute drawing, we don't have time for details. There's no details on the face. We're not doing hands or fingers. We're probably not drawing breasts. What we are drawing are gesture lines. Oops, sorry. What we are drawing are gesture lines, which is, and if you can get to it, that, right? Which is how the body is shifting towards or against gravity. So when I come in here and I start, I'm going to actually repeat. And in a 1 minute drawing, we're not really worried about proportions. That comes later. So what we're really worried about in the 1 minute drawing is just getting these lines. How do I know the hips down here are coming up? I know this because the shoulders are going down. Always the hips and the shoulders kind of go opposite each other. Right here, 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 right? So that's the beginning. And then kind of a quick circle for the head and the jawline. We'll go over this, the neck, how to sketch this out. Circles for the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, right? The sort of tin can that is the figure, maybe 2 tin cans, 2 cylinders. The circles for the hips, knee, ankles. That's probably how much time, whoop, there we go, you're gonna have, if anything, right, to sketch the figure. Probably you won't even have time for the ponytail, but if you did, it just be dark like that. Right, so we're not really worried about proportions here. We're not really worried about like details. We're worried about capturing how the body is fighting gravity or how the body is giving into gravity. When we're pushing down, we're fighting gravity, right? Or when we're rising up, we're really fighting gravity. When we're rising our arm up or something, our leg or something, when things come up, we're fighting against gravity. When things are pulling down, like this hip here, or like this hip here actually, which is lower, right? This is where gravity is kind of pulling us down, which means this gesture is kind of suggesting a kind of fight up. This is the beauty of gesture, right? In a very simple way. So just do your best here. I know we're taking more than a minute, which is always fine, just to like start. And let me go find a line of action. Does anybody have questions about it as we do this? Okay. Here we are. I'm going to come back and share the screen. Hi, Emma. Nude models. We want male and female. We want adults. We want 6 seconds. Are we ready, everybody? Are we ready? Okay, let's go. You can always, if you're like not sure, watch what I'm doing, but I think it's better to try it, even if you don't do well, right? Don't worry about shading and all of this business. Just worry about trying. Don't worry about proportions. That's not what we're about today. It's all kind of about, can you get the gesture? Ooh, there's a fun one. I often think of the arms and the shoulders as kind of going together in gesture. Yeah, we're definitely going to review. And I assume you guys want to do a little practice after working with figure for a while on portraiture, right? That will be.
Yes.
Yeah, great. I think I think those of you who did this last year are gonna find you're gonna be able to learn it more deeply. I don't know if you're finding that about figure, but I think it's probably true.
It is.
Yeah, like you're able to kind of take more in on this second. It's interesting. It's like a building experience. I like to, this is why I actually, when I have time, like to take beginning drawing classes, even though I'm not a beginning drawer, because I love to see what I can, A, what I can incorporate, and B, what do I learn more deeply each time I take it? There's basically no end to, there's basically no end to your learning. You can kind of constantly be a beginner if you want to. I would recommend it. I think it's way more interesting. This is a neat pose. Sometimes you'll be like, it's really confusing, even what to draw first. But the 1 minute doesn't really give you time to mess around. I'm just following joints here. And actually, this one, which seems the most confusing, may be my favorite. Just simply. Notice how the neck really comes right up into the head, particularly from this position, you can see it. It doesn't rise above the head. It really sticks right in there. You can let lines cross over too into each other. Doesn't have to be neat. Remember, we're not worried about proportions on this one. Do what's in front first, and do what's behind. Easier said than done, right? Lost my email. Also, notice your worries as you have the worry of trying to do the exercise, but notice that your worries kind of fade as you're concentrating. This is the magic of art, as we all know. I know you guys know this. I'm just musing as I'm doing this. You know me, very philosophical about this whole thing. Oh, this dude. This is ridiculous. I love it.
It's the head. Okay.
You can't really see it. And the feet are really dominant here, obviously. And he obviously has like dirt on his feet, which is even funnier.
I can completely understand why the guys who are developing video games use this.
Right? It's and it's what it's for, really. It's one of the things it's really for. If I had more stamina, I kind of looked into being a video game designer. I thought it would actually, because you know, there's so, I mean, there is a lot of money in it if you want to be an artist, but it requires a lot. Oh, I love her. Beautiful model. Little skinny, but still. You're gonna find drawing our Zoftig model today is like kind of awesome. And you can really see it here, how the rib cage is kind of divided. The torso is really divided into like the rib cage, right, area, which is the upper, and then this lower area, which is just muscles. You can really see it here. There's literally a break. Is this 1, 2, 3, 4? 1, 2, 3. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, we did 10. Don't worry, we're done. Your torture is stopped. Okay, anybody have anything they liked? Like this last one? Send them over. Let's share. I really enjoyed this one where the girl had had her legs extended out and let's see.
Last one was very nice also.
Yeah, wasn't that a neat one? Totally.
The one with the girl with the pink hair also, that was very interesting.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking about. I liked that one. The girl with the pink hair. At first I was like, oh God. But then as I got into it, I was like, ooh, I kind of like this one.
I was wondering, you know, how this pink hair girl would look like in watercolor or ink.
Yes. So we will get there. I do promise we'll have at least one lesson on using watercolor, and we'll definitely have at least one lesson on ink, and we'll have one lesson on kind of mixed media watercolor too.
I was hoping that, October, Inktober.
Yeah, we're going to do Inktober. We're going to do Inktober. Yes, yes, absolutely. I thought I might throw a little watercolor in at the end though, just to like, nice. Is anybody starting to feel these? Are you
It's
starting?
fun. I like them, even though I like doing it.
They're kind of neat, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're kind of a neat, like they really force you to essentialize in a way that I think, to simplify in a way that I think is really good. Emma, you're missing all the best stuff. What's going on? You're missing all the best stuff, Emma. You just missed the 10-1 minutes. By the way, Hermes, I was 5 minutes late because Hermes leapt onto a palette full of oil paint and now has a big, bright, hot pink belly because I could not get it all off. And now he's been thrown out because he was knocking things over and just enjoying it. So I get it. It's crazy.
I did the 10-1 minutes.
Oh, you did? I saw you. Oh, right. I see. I saw you get up when you got up afterwards. All right, great. Good. Also, I wanted to tell you, Emma, that we've got one more beginning drawing class next week on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Europe time, 4 p.m. London time. So if we can try and fill this one, I had one person come and that was good, but I'd love to have more. I'll send you another. We're going to use her drawing as the basis for attracting more people. There we are. Okay, great. Wow.
Who was the new person?
She was from India.
Okay.
Yeah. Rochelle Chasa. And Rashmi, even though she's in Bangalore, she's in a totally different division. Rashmi doesn't know her. So that's good. That means we're showing market penetration. Poor thing, she was the only person who showed up. So I really, I was like, I'm all over you. She did ask, are you teaching all the other classes? And I'm like, yeah, a lot of them. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to start as always with a head measurement. We're going to talk about how to construct a head from the side. So I just want you to know not to worry about that. We will definitely do that. I don't like hot pink. Blue maybe? Sorry, I'm looking for the one that's the most visible. Let's try this. I'll take a picture as well. So here's our head. It's really from the top of the head to the chin. So as we come down one more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We are a full 8 heads. And if I take my ruler and draw a line straight down from her chin, let's see where that line goes. This is too thick. There we go. So from her chin down, right, we're adding in the plumb line. You can see kind of what's really underneath her chin, right? What's on this side and what's on that side. So that is going to be helpful too. Pull this up. Just so you see how that line relates. So let me send that over before I get too much. I have another copy of this, so once I cover it up. Here we go. But I wanted to talk about shading a little bit. So I wanted to introduce this concept that the body, like a cube, has sides. And this is actually a really good drawing for seeing it. We started to review this a little bit before class, but I wanted to talk about it. And that's basically shades, planes. So I wanted to start by sharing this sheet with you. You guys, I did send it to you. These are Giacometti sketches. Do you guys know Giacometti? He's very kind of wiry and looks very like sort of, but this Giacometti was an amazing draftsman. And if you look at this, you'll see he has really here divided the figure up into different planes. So as you get more complex about this, you'll see how many shifts there are in the body. We start to learn about this but I want you to get the initial ones first, right? So this is Giacometti sketching somebody, and then all of the plane changes. Aren't they beautiful? They're just really beautiful. All the subtle plane changes. What's happening is the body is kind of pulling up over bones and muscles and skin. And actually, one of the things I was talking about here, and you can see it here in her, is that like the rib cage, which kind of stops about here. If you feel it on yourself, here, I'll show you. You can actually feel it on yourself. It's about here. Run your hand down. It's a sort of under the breasts, and you'll feel it. It kind of comes up like a U. Can run your hand over. So that's a major plane change, because underneath that, the only bones are in the spine. So there's a shift. You can often see that. That's where this is happening, where there's a change in direction. In that last figure with the woman from the side, you could really see the rib cage kind of going straight, and then boom, this second part. So as you learn more about anatomy, and we'll get more into it later, you'll be able to see more and more plane changes. However, this is a very simple look at plane changes, right? This is a Congressio drawing, and it's very famous because look how well it shows the sides of the body versus we're not used to thinking of the body as having sides like a cube, but in a simplified way, it really does. If you wanted to, you could even cubify her if you want to. I give you permission to try it in the way Congressio cubifies people here, but you can see the light is coming from this direction, and look at all these different figures and where the light stops. So when we see, right, her, this is the side of her, here's the front, here's the other side, like a cube. Once you really start to understand that, this becomes, and as you see here from where I sketched, right, it's pretty easy to see the cubes of her leg, even though she's got very rounded legs, right? Here's one side of the leg. So if you want to, you can cubify. You don't have to. But if you want to, you can kind of, like Congressio did, turn your figure into a, but mostly, I just want you to see it so you can see how it works. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, helpful, right? It's helpful. Because you can see the left brain is like, this is just one big side, but that's just entirely untrue. So how do we simplify it? We think about it as cubes. Look at the heads are just like cubes, really, right? Here's one. And there's the side of the arms, there's the front of the arms, there's the side of the top of the arms, there's the side of, the bottom. That's how it works. So you've got this with you. Just warning for those of you who just came in that the phone might die soon. The tablet might die soon, in which case I'm going to have to switch over to the phone. Forgot to charge it last night. Takes a long time. All right, so as usual, because we've got 8 heads down, I'm going to start by defining my head and then just bringing it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's where my foot is. Notice that the foot is like one head. What I often notice you guys doing is shortening your legs by one, forgetting about this foot, right? And actually shortening it. Now, if I'm not, like you probably are all just looking, you're not able to touch the paper like me, right? or touch the source like me. If I'm not looking, how am I going to figure this? How am I going to measure? I'm going to hold my arm out straight without bending my arm. Coming down 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you need to, you can step back. You can stand up and do that. The big thing is not to do this in the middle. You want to keep your arm the same distance, right? If you do this, then you're measuring from a different location, a plane. Visual spatially, that's going to change things. All right, and then once we do this, let's talk a little bit about the head. And then I'm going to, and then I'll slow down a little bit so we can stop. So heads from the front are kind of like an egg shape. Maybe that's a little, whoops. Maybe that's a little bit extreme. Heads from the front are a little bit like an egg shape. A head from the side really has 3 parts, maybe 4 parts. We have this upper area, which kind of comes through the bridge of the nose, like that. This is the skull. The skull reaches out farther than we think. And then there's like the lower jaw, right? And the chin. And then notice the neck comes in to touch. It's hard to see here. The neck comes in, and this is always true from the side, before the hair to come at about this point of the back of the skull. So people miss this a lot. They think that the neck comes out here or it's thinner, right? If you think about what a skull looks like, a skull kind of hangs off the back of the neck. So when you're structuring, and then the jawline kind of comes up and meets the neck and the back of the skull. So it looks like this. So it's kind of, here's my line, right? There's my plumb line. I know that the head is actually kind of on this side of the plumb line. And I know that it's tilted. Yep, battery may run out soon. We'll work as long as we can. Then I'll use my phone. Right, I know that it starts like this. It kind of comes down like this. Chin hits the bottom here. My neck comes in here. So this is where people miss it, right? This is where you miss it. Then the neck comes down here. And then the jawline kind of comes up. And the ear is here, by the way, where the jawline comes up and meets the back of the skull and the neck. Kind of where the ear is. A little bit lower. We're not really getting into that until we get into portraiture, but it's good to know. Then I can kind of put in the hairline and the hair. See, the reason we don't see this is that the hair often covers it. Right? There's hair down here. And then a little bit of a ponytail. I don't want to get too into it, but that's basically the construction of the head. So let's see how you guys do there before I go on anymore. I'll take a picture of this up close. Well, I can see already, mess this up a little bit. Because of the tilt of her head, the jaw is more. So go ahead and send it to me.
Mine's just not doing that.
What do you mean yours is not doing that?
So sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, got it. That was a kid. Was that a kid? I forget the chaos of your house always reminds me, Emma, of the chaos of living with men.
I also have men. I have 3 men and I have 2 male cats.
You have all men. You are surrounded by men. Okay, Anik, it's a little bit, notice I made the same issue here in the neck here. This is more happening. You have this happening. You have this happening gently. It's kind of a little bit more angled. Otherwise, looks
Right.
good.
Right.
And the neck feels thick, doesn't it? But that's where it is.
I mean, it is normal neck, so.
Yeah. And make sure that you really pull the back of the skull.
Yeah.
Behind.
Mhm. Yeah, true.
Can you imagine the poor girl taking the beginning figure drawing class? I'm like, nope, this is here. Sorry, normally there's more of you. I don't pick on you so much. Yeah, Rashmi, I was going to say here that the biggest thing happening in Oregon is that, which you know very well, is that Delta has crushed through, and anybody who isn't vaccinated is sort of, of which a fair number of people in this state are, they're dying. So they get it. So like the frustrating thing is that if they were vaccinated, we would not have a problem. But because there's so many people who don't believe in vaccination, they are, cramming up the hospitals and
yeah. I have friends in London who are running a campaign, and they keep sending me all these forwards that how vaccination is against, I don't know, so many things. And I just don't want to talk to them because these friends are Indians. So I'm like, are you planning to come to India? Because they will not let you come to India or leave UK if you do this. You need to be vaccinated.
I have a friend who claimed that she does not trust the medical system, and now she has COVID, and she's been really sick, and I've just been getting whiny emails from her every fucking day about like how sick she is. And I'm like, what I want to say is, okay, you say you don't trust the medical system, but if you'd had your vaccine, you wouldn't be sick. You just might be sick. I have to keep listening to you talk about your dumb ideas about health and blah, blah, blah. I feel bad. I can't breathe. And I'm like, you could have helped yourself. You can't really blame anybody but this. So
I mean, someone just said that, this is their personal choice. Like, there's some campaign that would you ask me about my bedroom choices, then why are you asking me about my vaccination choices? I mean, how can you even equate the two is beyond me.
It's absurd.
So,
I know people are hey, Anik, your neck is still a little bit, I want you to look, I'm going to erase this. I'm going to erase the hair so you can really see it. Look where the neck comes in on the back. See where it comes in on the back? And then the hair.
I mean, I know, I get it. Just I don't know if I can put it.
You're having trouble doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I completely get what you mean, and and basically I understand. Just
it's just hard to get. I got you.
No, it's just I'm training all the time, and probably I'm
okay. You have
too much
done
braining. I have impression that my head is simply too flat.
Heads are flatter than you think.
Yeah, I know, but this one is like not Homo sapiens,
Yeah. Annika, you have done this. I'm going to show you what it looks like. You've done this. Can you see that? Really, the jaw comes right here and meets with the skull, the back of the skull and the neck, and then the back of the skull comes over. So adjust that line. I'm glad we're spending time with this. Yeah, I know you're about to die. It's hard to see. Okay. Emma, you gonna send me something or am I gonna keep going? Rashmi, are you sending me something or am I keeping
Yeah,
going?
yeah, I'm sending.
I'll try.
sending.
My phone is like in an awkward place charging. So
I got you. This thing is about to die too.
I just sent it.
Not bad, Rashmi. Not bad. Were you expecting me to say like, no, fix it all? Okay, Annika, better, much better. Emma, let's see here. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, let's move on. Oops, why are you? Oh.
Leah, will you give me this girl's name, like spelling? I'll just reach out to her.
Yeah,
Because I've been
right now,
sending
but
these emails. So yeah.
yeah,
I mean, after the class, I'll take it from
yeah.
you so that I can let her know.
Okay, so now we can add in our gesture, right? And you can even kind of see where the gesture goes. We may have to adjust it later, but I can definitely kind of see. This goes down to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's down to here. Belly button is about right here, just above. I can see this comes out here. So here's where gesture becomes helpful, right? Let's see. Looks like to me, lines up here. Foot. There. And then notice gesture on this side, I kind of covered it up, but it kind of rings kind of right in here, kind of runs along the line. And remember, this whole last area is foot. So this is going to help us kind of keep things in check. Actually, I'm going to look here and see. Yeah, how is this the second time around? In some ways easier, in some ways harder.
Same difficult. Just you know how much it's at stake. Now you have this, conscious.
I always say that like the real thing with figure drawing is it's kind of easier at first because you're not aware of what you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. Now you know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So although it should be feeling like even more of a mind bender, that's actually a pretty good sign.
I feel is that I can now see my own mistakes or what am I doing wrong better than last year. Like last year was all going all gaga with every little
right. I mean, it's
thing, but now I'm
right.
all... Yeah.
It's huge.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Say it, Rashmi. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
Yeah, no. I was saying that, it's like, where you're going wrong. I mean, a little bit better than last time.
Yeah.
Because last time it was just the novelty of the entire process, because I didn't know anything about it. But now you know yourself that, okay, I mean, we know just by taking the picture that, okay, we're going wrong at
Yeah.
this point. You ask us, right, that tell me, where are you going wrong? So I think, yeah, that's a learning.
Yeah. So it should feel harder because you're actually
Yeah.
adding
Yeah.
more layers to learning this. That's the idea. You should have two reactions. And one is that I'm able to start grasping this easier. And the other is, shit, this is harder than I remember from last year. Both of those feelings should be happening because you actually are adding layers of knowledge. That is how it works in drawing. I'm going to go a little bit further. Now I'm going to like start adding in, let's see. We've got a shoulder joint here, an elbow joint here. Yeah, wrist there. Notice how now we can really see, because she's bigger, we can really see the distance between the armpit and the top of the shoulder, which you guys always get too skinny, right? A lot of you get too skinny. So here it becomes very easy. I'm not finding this actually super helpful. The shoulder is kind of like coming in like this. There we go, that's better. And then if I want to check it, like how, yeah, it's basically fully one head down, kind of lined up here is where the armpit is. Right, here's the arm on this side. Here is, let me see if I've got it in the right place. I can check that. It's about 1.5 heads. That's about right. Just going up. Almost straight. This one. I'm also using the negative space here to help me shape this. I'll come over here on the other side. You're going to find it's much easier to get a handle on a fuller figured woman. It's really great. And it teaches you some things. Let's see. you guys know when they have people start doing tattoo? We have a lot of tattoo artists here in Portland. It's a lot of our artists go that direction because that's how they can make money. That you start by tattooing a grapefruit. That's so weird. Oh, I brought this down too low. You're gonna see how interesting it is to fit the breast in here. The breast within head 3 on our right side, but I'm not there yet here. Breasts are the super hardest to get right. We have such like primal, it's funny there when you're teaching a little kid how to draw, the kid goes through what's called a symbolic phase. From the age of like 5, everything, heads are circles, right? Bodies are stick figures. And this is a valid stage, but it's not like a realistic drawing stage. And most people never are taught how to move out of the symbolic phase. But I remember once a friend of mine brought her 6-year-old son to a model session, and basically a figure model session, beautiful young woman. And basically he drew her like this. That was it. Just giant boobs. In fact, the boobs were like this. So I think we still keep these ideas about breasts in our head, and that's what makes it hard to draw them. The 6-year-old, the 5-year-old, and younger is like, wow, circles, right? Symbolic drawing. Anik, your child will be in the symbolic drawing phase. No.
He is in his blue period for the last and continues for the 2 last years. So there's no other color of paint than blue.
Oh, might always be.
Sometimes violet.
Aww.
It's not really, into painting or drawing that much, which a little bit breaks my heart with all the understanding and,
Never know.
preparation for that. But I was drawing already like stick figures of a 6-year-old when I was 3. So.
Right. But you never know what will ignite him. That's also true.
Yeah.
Right?
That's also true. For now, because of the fact that he's growing like crazy and he already has the size of a 6-7-year-old being 4-year-old.
Right.
He has a bit of because of his appearance. People think that that he's older. Yeah, and sometimes I have impression that involuntarily we just want him to be older than he really is, while he's still trying to manage, holding the pencil and stuff like that, because he's still doing, the whole fist thingy.
Mona Brooks has a fantastic, who does drawing with children, has a fantastic description of where your child should be at different ages developmentally. Would you like me to send that across the thread? It's like 2 pages.
Yep. If you I'm interested. I always take those things with a pinch of salt, because
Oh, I wouldn't take it with a pinch of salt. It's been very, very, in my dealing with hundreds of students, this has been very correct. I mean, sure, everybody has their own way, but this has been super, super correct. So I would say absolutely. I mean, just in what I've seen, particularly gifted kids who are quick in some areas, but gifted kids who are great with conceptual ideas, right? Really struggle with drawing because they are where everybody else is. And they're very quickly used to thinking of themselves as quicker than everyone else. And it's very frustrating for them when they are when they can't draw a circle, when they can't draw. So I had a gifted kid who would sob hysterically every time she took my class. 6-year-old was huge and everything else, but at 6 they're barely able to do there's certain things that they're just not able to do. And her mother would we'd stop the lesson and I'd feel terrible. Her mother would say, nope, she needs to do this. And now that kid who I'm still very close to, she's totally she learned how to correct in that process. But at the beginning, it was frustrating for her not to be, I don't want to say that egoistically she needed to be better than everybody else. She was just so used to it. It was shocking to her that she was not.
Yeah, that's something that I think to some extent Matteo may be going through, because of the fact that he has this idea that other children, older children, because he compares.
Right. He's used to believe me. So the gifted children struggle the most with drawing. Yeah.
And once he didn't want me to go because they had a exhibition of the drawings that they were doing about the family. And so the theme was family, basically, because it was a Children's Day and Mother's Day week and so on. So he didn't wanted me to come to pick him up from the kindergarten because he didn't want me to see his drawing, which wasn't very, human-like. But he said that after all this event, he just cried and said, because I did it ugly, other children did it nicer.
Right. So he is not he's used to being cleverer than everyone, and that's a huge ego hit for them. However,
and plus he's male,
Right. An important one, and half Italian.
It also doesn't help.
But really, it's very important for us to understand. That's what I love about these exercises. They help me see where she was intellectually, and her mother as well, so that we could allow her, the kind of pain of not being cleverest, right, on everything, and think this wasn't easy and it was important. Oh, Emma, you just kept on going. All right. Looks actually pretty good. I like the way you got in the lines on this side. All right, so something about the head. I think the head and the neck are slightly too thick, Emma. So just a touch, not too much. So adjust those slightly. I like this though. So go ahead and start adding in your figure. Go ahead and just start adding in your shading. Wonderful, great work, really good.
Really nice. And
now, Emma, I feel like you have come very quickly forward. I feel like, I don't know how much drawing experience you had before you started classes with us, but I feel like your drawing in some ways has come I don't want to say the farthest. I just want to say I've observed how far you've come in the beginning. And all of you really have done great. But I think this is showing, this drawing is really showing a magical, a real leap for everybody. I'm proud of you. It's good. Are you feeling it? Because I know it probably feels like the opposite. And that's part of actually what Anik and I are talking about with children. We have to remind ourselves as well that actually, although this is harder, we know more. And so that's going to feel harder for us, right? Then like, but that harder doesn't mean you're going backwards. It actually means you're going forward. Yeah, let me. That's wonderful. I love it. Isn't she fun to draw?
I cannot wait for shading, just I'm struggling with the figure.
I think the fact that her body is bigger
Helps to
makes it makes it easier to measure somehow.
Yeah, it is, because you can see it more. They're absolutely right. All right, Annika. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good job. Look at this relationship, Annika. There's a little bit more happening here. I'm going to take a close up so you can see it.
Okay.
Of the torso.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, you can tell that you're doing great. Yeah, it is easier to get your hands on it. It's notice how close her legs are together, right? We can see, I'm not really following my gesture very well. I can hear more. I'm just trying to see, Annika, if you need to bring your leg in a little bit closer on this side. Look at or maybe you just need to extend this out a little bit. Really pay attention to the, let's see. What am I trying to say here? Really pay attention to the negative space here. Make sure one isn't too far out. That's one thing that'll help you. Also, I'm going to take a picture of the foot without all the junk on it because I've covered it up completely. No. There's the foot, so you can see that front foot and what it's doing. We'll see how long this lasts. I'm expecting this to die any second, so you guys have, let's see. Notice how easy it is to make things like I just did there, too curved. Yep, there we go. Okay. So I know, keep working from your WhatsApp threads. I'm going to put up my phone. Give me a second. Just prepared for this at least. Right, here we are. Okay, so I might have trouble. Let's see how much I can get on here. I have a little bit of trouble getting everything. Oh no, we can get everything in. It's true. I used to do all this with my cell phone. There we go. Yeah, there's something really satisfying as well about this sort of pelvis area, right? The curve. It's got a more Aphrodite type vibe going on. You know what, you guys, I love the big classes, but I also really love these small classes. They feel super nice. Nice to have a nice little. There we go. That's a little bit better. What do you feel like as we go into this second year? What do you guys feel like you're bringing into it?
I've been doing this for a year now.
So you're in your first year, so you're just starting out your second
Yeah.
year. So what
I'm-
do you notice, Annika, about the difference between now and when you started? What can you?
Well, there's a big difference. I noticed that I understand less, but in a good way. Sort of. It's hard to
So you understand. You now know how much you don't know.
exactly.
Right.
But it's also incredibly satisfying to surprise yourself at the outcome sometimes.
It sure is, isn't it? I myself surprised at how short the knee is, that it's right where it is. Keep wanting it to make this leg longer.
Yeah, I've sent you mine.
What's that? Okay. Right now, the phone is,
Okay, yeah. You can't.
let me look at everything at the end.
Sure.
If you're having trouble, I'll take a look. But if you're not having trouble, you guys are pros. Notice how this shadow really comes across the breast as well. Neat. And notice, although this lady is kind of, you know, big, she's got some fantastic legs. I was like just admiring her ankles. Like she's got these beautiful, right? She is gorgeous. She's quite a goddessy. And I don't mean that in the cheesy way. I mean, she's really kind of hot. I've never understood why people think skinny is good looking. I have almost always found the best looking people are not skinny. That may be my bias. But an interesting thing happens when you get really into figure drawing, and that is that you stop evaluating things as ugly or pretty. You're more just like, oh, that's so interesting. Look at how that piece comes forward, or look at how this shape goes like this and then like this. You spend a lot, you realize there's no real difference between quote unquote ugly and pretty, ugly and beautiful. There's no such thing. It's a complete construct. We're going to start talking about anatomy next week. Particularly muscular structure. Notice you can also kind of see the square of her, the shading of her face. I wouldn't recommend going in and doing a lot of detail unless you got it. But I would recommend trying to get in that shading. It's like light here. I'm actually lightening out the jawline. I'm kind of getting rid of the jawline because you can't really see it here onto the side of the chin and dark everywhere else. And that also conveys how she's holding her head. Also, with a little bit of reshaping of her hairline and adding a little bit, I can make that head feel like it's less small than the rest of the body. Notice the cylindrical walking stick also has a light and a dark side. Also has sides. Now, if you need help, let me know. Actually, what I might have you do is I'll spotlight you and have you hold it up to the camera and look. But if you're feeling like you're able to, you know, manage most things, I can totally tell. It's funny looking at the camera. I can totally tell this one.
Actually wanted to ask you, Leah, if it's fine because I'm not really sure.
Sure, hold on, hold it. Let me hold it up.
Me too.
Okay. I'm looking. It looks pretty good to me. I think she's a little bit thicker in this leg up here. So just make sure you get that width. Check it. Check it.
I checked it, but maybe it's a few millimeters though.
Yeah, just a little bit. This leg needs to be a little bit thicker up here. I think the bottom leg looks good. This leg, yeah, looks great. Good job. Good job. Yay.
Gonna shade it down.
Actually, this is good because I feel like this is easier for people who are watching the video to see the corrections as well. So let me know if you want me to look at it. I'll look at it.
Yeah, I want to show.
Let's see. Let's see. I'm having come up a little closer, Raj. Oh, that's looking wonderful. Yeah. I'm not seeing anything that's really bothered. Yep. Nope. Looking good. Looking good. Yeah, it is easier to grasp the curves on this because they're bigger.
She looks like me, so I'm just feeling like I'm drawing myself.
She's gorgeous.
Like the body is like, I feel like it's my body. Right?
That's wonderful. Well, lucky you have such a beautiful body. It's a beautiful this one. I love it. She's one of my favorites.
Thank you.
I was actually thinking I may show you next week a woman in a wheelchair. I have a wheelchair model, and
Yeah.
I think you'll really like that. It's a sitting pose, but also dealing with she's real fierce and really awesome. You guys are doing great. It's really fun. It's nice to watch. It's funny when I look at it, when I turn my head to look at it on the screen, I could see the issues better than when I'm looking at it straight on. Like, okay. Notice how her head, I finally managed to get her head a little bit more shaped in the right way too. So it's just adding little bits of hairline in to kind of extend it out. I'm also erasing the strong line here of the jaw because you can't really see it because of the shadow, but adding in more of the shading around the base of the neck. So if you're struggling with that, if you're feeling like I don't really have it, now I'm kind of now that I've got the shape in. Does anybody want me to put up the one without the measurements so you can see?
Can you click a picture of this this photo with the measurements? I think you've not shared it yet. Later on, maybe after the classes.
Oh yeah, maybe not, maybe not. Okay, if you give me a minute, I can take this off and do it. Or would you rather I do it after the class?
After the class.
After the class.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't actually have her, and I'm just looking, I don't actually think I have Rochelle's email address. I think she, if I give you her name, you can probably find her in the company directory.
Yeah. I've been sending the mail to the entire Bangalore newsroom, so I'm sure she received it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
She said she got the email. Absolutely. So it's working. Whatever you're doing, it's working.
But the problem is a lot of people come and talk to me for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes about the drawing class, but then they never show up. So I keep
learned is that it is a select group of people that's actually going to show up, right? It's a much smaller group of people. There's a lot of people. So it's really, when we're recruiting, I'm not worried about Reuters because we have a lot of Reuters people. Like I'm not, you know, I feel like we can do it, but it can be slow. I'm more worried about like, you know, new clients like BuzzFeed to help them get, you know, sort of more momentum, because I feel like it's a case by case thing, right? It's a case by case, like it's okay to just recruit one person at a time. Because it's a big commitment, as you guys know, it's huge. Showing up every week, it's huge. It's like people deciding to go to the gym or something like that.
Right? I don't know why the Delhi team has completely stopped showing up, even Nidhi. So
yeah, Nidhi did write this morning that she's coming back to it.
Okay.
She's gonna catch up. Anuja, I just think has been really stressed out.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, it's stressful, but it's okay. We get, so anyway, don't worry so much about, like, lots of people will talk about it, but only a select few, you guys, are the types who will do it. So we're not trying to do this for everybody. I mean, we want as many people as possible to do it, but
yeah,
surprise, people are talkers and not doers. A lot of them. It's intimidating. And think about what you emotionally have to go through as you're learning how to do this. It's a lot of challenge, right? And it's frustration, and you kind of have to, it is like working out. It's totally like working out. It's kind of painful in times as you're starting to learn the new way of thinking, but it's worth it every time. I have a gym class I go to 3 times a week at 6:15 a.m. And it's so every morning, these days particularly, I just drag myself to it. I don't want to do it at all. I've been doing it for 2 years, but I still don't want to. I'm like, oh, like this is so tiring. And I show up because the teacher notices if I don't. And ask me where I've been and stuff. So yeah, you know, this is a situation where we'll notice. If you'll notice, if you don't show up to class, we'll probably talk about you in class in the video. Like I know Sandra isn't here because she wrote.
Yeah.
Let us know she's in physio, and also when she would be back. And you know, Needy wrote to say, hey, I'm going to catch up on the figure drawing videos before I come back in, which is not a bad idea.
Leah,
Yeah.
anatomy wise,
Mhm.
she has a kind of light line across her here.
The
like
breast,
at an angle.
this,
No, much higher here. Yeah.
yeah, that's the collar, that's the collarbone.
You think it's
Yeah.
it's very low?
Mine's low too.
Is
Or
it?
it's just below the collarbone. It's just below the collarbone. Good observation. It's there are these two bones that kind of lead down. If you run your hand, you'll feel them. And let's take a look at this. I'll show you. It's you can actually stop and watch this. Let's see. So it's here, right? So the collarbone is here. And then if you run your hand to the bottom of the collarbone, you'll feel a couple of bones that lead to the breastbone. And if you're pushing up like she is and pushing them out, they kind of push a little bit. Also, some people's breastbone, like mine, here, I'll see if I can show you. You can see mine sticks out a lot more. It just kind of pushes out. So for some people, that bone sticks out, which means the other bones will stick out too. Can you kind of feel it? This bone. Let's see if I can find a picture of the chest.
It's like the top of the ribs.
Yeah, it's well, no, the top. Oh, maybe that is it. Yeah. Let me see. Is
Or
that,
the gap between the ribs and the collarbone.
I think it's the
'Cause
gap.
there is a bit of a gap, isn't
I
there?
think there's the gap. Okay, now I know I have a handout for this, so let me check it and I'll show it to you. Hold on, I'm going to remove the spotlight. It's a good question. Hold on. All right. Here is the skeletal structure. Yeah, you're right. The ribs, it's a rib. It's absolutely a rib. Here, I'm going to take a picture of this, but I'm going to show it to you so you can see it. And it's just kind of the way she's thrusting her shoulders that you see it. Here, hold on. Take a look at this. Oops. So you're right. The rib cage goes all the way. I'll take a picture, but see, the rib cage goes all the way up. So you can see the ribs. Here's the breastbone. It comes down. The ribs kind of come up around it. And then, yeah, look here. This is where the most distinct, sorry, I'm going backwards. This is where one of the most distinct shifts happens. We'll talk about this next week a little bit more. So there's only a few places where on the body where we see a lot of bone protuberance. One is the head, right? We see because the skin is stretched pretty, there's muscles here, but the skin is still stretched pretty tightly over the skull. Another are this clavicle area. Another area is, stand back far enough to show you. Another area is the hip joints. You can feel it, right where the bones stick out, right? And then the knees. And then the biggest place we see bones is also in the hands and the feet, which is why they're so hard to draw. Other places, mostly we see the shapes of the muscles, right? Kind of roping across. They're sort of maybe pushing up a little bit and down over the bones, but we mostly see. But here, the feet, the elbows and the joints and the pelvis is where and the rib cage, kind of where the rib cage shifts to, muscle and fat down here. That's where we see bone mostly. So we don't actually mostly see the bone as clearly as we do. We'll talk about this next week. This is a good part. This is interesting to talk about. We've got about 20 minutes left. So if you guys want, let me know at any point you can flash up your drawings so I can take a look, or just keep working. And notice how focused you all are, how focused, and I feel more focused even in just doing this drawing, even in just doing a kind of later version. I feel way super focused, much better than I did when I was running after my dumb cat this morning, trying to towel him off. My dumb.
Leah, can you have a look at mine?
Yep, hold on. Do it. Hold it up. Oh yeah, that's looking wonderful. Make the darks a little, so you're going to want to bring those darks, right, that you've got down here, the dramatic darks, up into here too, so they're not sticking out so much. But I love it. You've got, you got that angle of her chin coming down, right, as she's kind of pushing it out, and then it comes down into her neck and is stretching. You got that really nicely. I love what's happening with the breasts. Yeah, just keep going, girl. You got it. It's wonderful. How's it feeling?
I'm in a less bad mood than I was an hour ago.
Yeah, me too. Do you care to share what your bad mood was about, or would you rather not talk about it?
My children playing computer games.
Okay.
As the only way to keep them quiet. And then not stopping when they're told. I've told them I'm introducing Chinese regulations around computer games into my household. Well, the Chinese government has just ruled that under 18s should only be allowed to have an hour a day on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and none in the week.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's because they're worried about internet addiction, basically. But yeah, so that is obviously not making my children happy.
I bet they're loving that.
I'm more concerned about their citizens not knowing the truth about them, honestly, not going to internet. So especially
they just don't want to go to internet in general, but they're right on that one, right? Because it's so insidious. It is so addicting.
Yeah, but I mean, I know that China and even India are not curbing anything for the good of the citizen. They're just
Yes, you're right.
trying to hide their deeds.
I'm with Rashmi there. That's for Rashmi.
Good point, Rashmi. Not untrue in any way, shape, or form. Totally true.
But have they found the one point that the West will be praising them for? They found.
Right. What we know are people are very limited in their ability to, a lot of people are very limited in their ability to take in information and their abilities to, analyze what they see. And particularly now that's, very clear and kind of encouraged. So I think that's what's interesting is to see how it's playing out in the different countries, right? There's a way we do it here in the West, and I see that people are kind of borrowing from each other. Like Trump definitely borrowed from all the dictators in the countries that I lived in. I think he definitely borrowed from India.
Yeah.
And so we just learned that this is, and I'm only laughing because it's awful, right? You have to laugh because otherwise you just go crazy.
Yep. Like Margaret Atwood said, when I wrote The Handmaid's Tale, they haven't written anything that wasn't happening around the world.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
That novel had such a, so I was in college from 86 to 90. And I read that book in college and it had such a huge impact on me. And the thing that had the biggest impact on me, I don't know if you guys have read it, but there's a point in the middle of the book where Offred talks about the Japanese tourists coming and taking pictures. And that's the first moment you really realize that this is not true everywhere. It's just true here in this place. And I think that was the moment that really shocked me to my core of, wait a minute, this is happening right now. It's happening in lots of places. It's happening today. Yeah, it's that book had a profound, so profound that I cannot possibly watch the TV show.
I watched the show and yeah, it was so disturbing.
It's really disturbing. There's such a thing as like, we have to have some feeling of hope, right? I mean, somehow I know things are shitty and I know we might be seriously going down, but we have to have some hope. And Margaret Atwood offers none. Thank you, Margaret. I get that she needs to do it, but I'm like, shit. So say that's fiddling while Rome burns. I'm going to do art as long as I can, because that is what brings joy.
That's what will save us.
That's what will save us. The artist will save us. Art will save us.
And having on that note, Leah, can you have a look?
Art will save us. Oh, it already looks great. It's fun to see it from far away. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at that line. Oh yeah, your line is better than mine. Here, I'm going to switch mine out. So yours looks fine. I feel like the breast line comes up.
Yeah, it comes up a bit upper, and I think that now I see.
Darken it in here and get that. So yeah, just darken up. There's a lot of beautiful dark and lights business happening up in here. Yeah, that's all. It's wonderful. Your head looks great. Everything looks good.
Thank you. It's easier to draw this one than the last week's ones.
Yeah. So we will, it's because she's bigger, and also because you have more information, and also because, and we'll be working on the next week's model will be in a wheelchair, and you'll see this one is, I'm repeating what I did for Wednesday's class, but they're so good, these pictures. I just want to, I'm going to take a couple that I loved from the last section because they look really good. And I'll take a picture as well of this skeleton when we are done with class.
Leah, will you look at mine?
Oh, yeah.
I
Let's-
don't know if you see.
Absolutely. Oh, looking good. I'm looking. Get really dark up in here.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's looking, everything, it's looking pretty good. And then I also want you to look at the breast area. So if you really see the breast area is really contained in this head, it starts up at the bottom of head 2 and it kind of ends right before the bottom of head 3. So it's the dark shapes that are going to define the breasts.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Excellent. Really good. Isn't it helpful? Look
Yeah.
at my like it's fearful. Like I remember I used to have fear in front of a model, and now I just think the models are the best things you can possibly do. Great work, everybody. Got about 10 minutes left. See what we can do. In 10 minutes. I didn't realize the rib cage went up that far. It's interesting to know. Our bodies are so amazing. Actually, honestly, our bodies, our minds, and our planet are so amazing. It's just amazing to think of how we started, where we are. We were painting apples yesterday, Cezanne apples yesterday in class. You want me to show you it? It's a very charming drawing. And I was thinking about the miracle of the apple. A, what a perfect food the apple is. And B, amazing that it just grows freely on trees everywhere. Not fun? Cezanne apple. Think about this, that this is everywhere. I mean, no planet that we've seen has anything remotely like this level of abundance. It's insane. When you think about it, all this free food everywhere, like everywhere, not requiring anything other than foraging. What a miracle.
My parents will be picking up their apples from the garden this weekend. They are ready. I always loved the smell of the freshly picked up apples. There's nothing like it.
And
no perfume. It's nothing like
it's like a perfect food, right? It's got very little calories. It doesn't make your blood sugar spike. It's got so much fiber and vitamins and things that it's like this perfect, absolutely perfect food. No fat, right? Like it's just beautiful. It's an absolutely perfect thing. And so wonderful to paint. Doesn't this look like fun?
Yeah.
Totally.
We'll get back to it, probably January, maybe December. We're going to do a couple months of figure drawing and then maybe 1 month of portraiture, and then we'll decide. This group can decide what they want to do. There we go. I was just noticing not only the neckline going kind of dramatically back like this, but the chin kind of popping a little bit over that line, which really shows the thrust, how she's kind of thrusting her face forward. Little tiny shifts can make such a difference. They can really show a lot of character and emotion. What I really appreciate is that although some of you are trying to get facial features in, most of you are recognizing that there's a kind of beauty in the figure without having to do the face. You're focusing on what you can get done in this time period. I feel like at the beginning, everybody wants to do faces and then they add faces that look like this, and it's weird, right? It doesn't really look right because we don't know about faces have their own construction. That's insane. Starting to get it. I'm mucking around with it, but I would advise you not to, unless you have a little bit of experience. You have plenty to do without dealing with fingers. Oh yeah, we're also going to definitely do at least one class on hands and one class on feet, which is not something that we have done before.
Yes, please.
Odd. All right, I'm going to remove the spotlight here. I'd like to see everybody's work. Hold it up wherever you are. Oh yeah, wonderful, wonderful. These are great, you guys. Really, really great. Okay, Rashmi, I'll send you that information after class. I'll take a picture of the bone structure so you guys have it. Great work. Oh, next week, this probably doesn't really affect you guys. There's no abstract art painting for 2 weeks. The teacher's on vacation, but everything else should be going along as planned. I also wanted to tell you that there is next Tuesday, there is a beginning. So you think you can't draw class. Those of you who have not taken this class with me, which is drawing a lily, should totally take it. You should jump in if you can. But it's also a great class because it's a great class to kind of learn about basics, and you will come out with the drawing. But it's also a great class for beginners. So let's remember to promote that. The European after work and India after work time is on Tuesday. And on Friday, I think, is a 6 p.m. New York time class, 3 p.m. LA class. So trying to encourage as many people as possible to do it. Great work, everybody.
Thank you.